Hey everybody, this is Jackie from Jack Gets Lost Down a Book Hole. So close that time to saying it without stumbling. Dang it. Okay, well, anyway, when this video comes up, this will actually be true, but it is Top 5 Wednesday time, and this week's topic is your favorite children's literature. I guess your, books from your favorite books from your childhood, or your, or children's literature that you really considered your favorites. Unfortunately, I only have, out of the ones I could think of, I only have copies of 2 of them, because it was more like I felt like, I missed out on reading the actual books, these 2 particular ones, so I bought them so I could read them. Actually, ironically, one of them has always been, well, the other one too, but one of them has always been kind of part of my life. Not the actual book, the actual novelization, but like the movie version I have 2 copies of the movie version. If we still have them, I have the VHS tape, and I have the special collector's edition DVD that, not the nice huge box, because I know they have one of those huge boxes with like all that cool stuff in it. Like I have one like that for Gone with the Wind, like one of the anniversary editions where it has like the music box and like the original script, picture, all that, like all this nice collectible stuff. I don't have that for this particular one, but and my dad was one of the major characters in the original play at our local community theater, and my sister also auditioned too at the time. Unfortunately, it was the only character she could really play was the protagonist, but they couldn't. Well, not that that's a bad thing, but if she didn't get that part, she basically wouldn't get. I don't know if she could get any of the other parts. I mean, I guess she could play the antagonist of the story. She could do that, or she could play the one who helps the protagonist, the first person that helps her. So there are other parts she could do, but unfortunately she did not cast. Ironically, my dad, who wasn't going to even audition for that particular stage show, did audition. And I think it was his first. I mean, he might have done high school theater growing up, but I think it was technically his first ever stage perform, being part of a theater group. But he actually got the part, unfortunately my sister did not. Just a little kind of messed up, but I mean, it's not like my sister was bitter about anything. I think now they kind of joke about it. Or they don't even really talk about it. It was so long ago that it doesn't really matter, but when they do, I think it's kind of joke about it. So I'll mention those first. Okay, and like I said, this is no particular order. This is just the 5 books, 5 children's literature that I still love. That kind of came to mind, or at least I remembered them. They made an impression on me. Not that I remember, although some of them I don't remember that well. Okay, so the first 2, of course, are Alice in Wonderland, a classic, which, has spun so many, movie renditions. I don't know if this one has a stage show or not. As you can see, this has both Alice Through the Looking Glass and, well, Alice in Wonderland, I should say first, and then Alice Through the Looking Glass. The thing is that I prefer the movie adaptations over the book. I mean, it's been so long since I read it, so who knows, maybe if I reread it again, I might appreciate it more in its nonsenseness. But it was too nonsense-like and too weird for me. But, I mean, I think I might read it again one day, and maybe I'll appreciate it more. Oh, I just realized, there's another one I do have that's not on this list. Like I mentioned, I'll mention that one too. But I love the movie versions of this. It's easier for me to appreciate the whimsicalness and the nonsense of it through if I physically see it rather than using my own imagination, I guess. And also, I think when I was reading it, there were times when I was like tired and it's, cranky and irritable and whatnot. But in case you don't know, which I would find it hard to believe if you didn't, it's basically it's in the 1800s, this little girl, I don't know how old she is. She, wanting to escape her boring life, she follows this mysterious white rabbit down a rabbit hole and ends up in this magical world that's full of nonsense. Nothing makes sense, but there's a logicalness to its nonsense that makes it like endearing to people who grew up with the story or who read it or at least seen the screen adaptations. It's written by Lewis Carroll, and I agree. I mean, I do believe I need to reread it so I can appreciate it more one day. But this is a Barnes & Noble Classics edition. Unfortunately, not those nice hardback editions, but it's a Classics edition, so... Okay, and then the other one I have here, number 2, is actually, if I was doing this in order, this one would probably go first. If I was doing this in order, but like I said, it was stacked with Alice in Wonderland first. Is Wizard of Oz, which this is the one I was talking about that has always been kind of part of my life. And my dad was the wizard. My dad got cast as a wizard in our community theater's production of the Wizard of Oz. And a lot of, one of his, and I believe his friend, he was friends with all the people, his community theater. One of his good friends, though, whose son and daughter were friends with my sister. He was the Scarecrow. And actually, I remember the actor who played the Cowardly Lion's name. I don't know why, but I do. Mike Margolis was the guy who played. Well, not that it matters because guys don't care. So anyway, I'm gonna not talk about that. But so my dad was the wizard in this, and he was also Professor Marvel. And the guy who answers the door, and I think he also got the part of the carriage driver. Because it was like they combined those characters, I guess, in the show or something. I mean, that's what I remember. Or maybe not. Maybe he wasn't the carriage driver, but I do know he was the guy who, the man who stood at the door and answered the door at the Palace of Oz and everything. And it's different from the actual... I mean, it's still the same idea and everything. It's still the same, but there are some differences. There's actually, first of all, it's not a dream. It's not hinted that it's a dream. It's I feel like the girl she goes to Dorothy somehow goes into the magic, she goes through the cyclone. She ends up in Oz. And then she leaves, and she's able to leave eventually, the no place like home, thing, and so, but they don't play it like it's a dream, which I think I like that better. I don't like the whole idea of it being, a dream, it's always just I like it better when they play it off as, the world is real, and, it's an actual place that the protagonist went to. I prefer that. And you know what? Another thing I learned about this is that the actual slippers are not red. They're not ruby. They're ruby in the movie because the time of the 1939 movie, Technicolor they started just using the Technicolor system and everything, and ruby red showed up better than silver, which is the actual color of the slippers. They're supposed to be silver. And there's also a lot more to the story. There's so much more that they left out. So many things that that happen to Dorothy and her friends that aren't in the originals, that aren't put into the movie. So actually, like I said, if I was going in order, this technically should be number one because this just has always been a part of my life. Um, oh, and another thing I learned, one of the things that bugs me about this one is that people, like, the movie combines the Queen of Hearts and the Red Queen. The Queen of Hearts and the Red Queen is one character, but that is not the case. They are actually two separate characters. The Queen of Hearts is Alice in Wonderland, and then the Red Queen is Through the Looking Glass. But in movie adaptations, I think they always combine them, which really, which is always, like, I don't know, it kind of bugs me. Like, so, I just wanted to mention that. And then we have, this is actually the Barnes & Noble hardback edition of The Wizard of Oz, which I love. I love it has the green line pages. It's so shiny, and it has all the stories, because Rain Baum, of course, wrote more than just The Wizard of Oz. He wrote The Marvelous Land of Oz, Ozma of Oz, Dorothy and the Wizard The Wizard in Oz, The Road to Oz, and there is another collection of stories that he wrote, which I do not have that one, but I would like to get that one as well. I've already read some of The Marvelous Land of Oz. I haven't come back to it in a while. I'm at chapter, I believe it's 6. I think it's chapter 6. Which, I mean, you would think I could, it wouldn't take me that long to come back to it and finish it, because the chapters are really short, and it's a children's book, so the writing style is easy to read. Okay, so, but I love getting those nice collector's editions. Okay, let me get. Okay. Where is it? I can't believe I totally forgot about this one. Okay, so actually I do have 3 in my collection because they're all classics. So I'm trying to read more classics. And that is Peter Pan. This would be number 3. I love the Disney movie, and I never read the book, so one day I just decided to buy this and read the book. And unfortunately, it's been a long time since I've read it, so I do need to reread it. And I just realized this is Borders Classics. Oh my god. So, yes, this is when I got this book when it was still, when the Books A Million in my old hometown was still Borders, before Borders went goodbye. Oh, this is so cool. So this is a Borders collector's edition. If you are my age, if you are in your 20s, then I am sure you remember, or 20s and older, I am sure you remember Borders Bookstore. Unfortunately, the company went out of business. I think it was during the time of, like, it was still, like, we were still kind of suffering from the whole economic blow that we went through a couple years ago, when we almost got to, had a crash, it might have crashed, I don't remember, the whole, what is it, I'm having a brain heart, well, anyway, so this was one, it was still Borders. So, if you haven't, I've always loved, this is the expanded edition, actually. I've always loved this story. I love the movies. Hook is one of my favorite movies. And I love the original Disney movie Peter Pan. In fact, I like some of my favorite Disney movies are some of the more boy, or the male, where the protagonist is a male. So like Peter Pan, for instance, Sword in the Stone, Robin Hood. I don't know. I think it's because I kind of want to be them. I want to be the one that goes on adventures and is a swashbuckling hero, even though I'm not. I'm a girl, so I mean a swashbuckling heroine, I guess. But I loved it. I remember I quite enjoyed this. Although, now from I don't remember, but I do believe that Peter is a lot more wicked in the actual book than they imply in the movies, in the Disney movie. But I mean, it's what I term as Peter as Disneyfied, where like they line up the original story considerably. But I definitely am going to reread this one. But I remember I quite enjoyed it. I loved it. Okay, let's see. Now I'm going to mention the ones I don't have in my possession, but I totally remember from my childhood. Okay, number 3, number 4. Okay, this one is The Velveteen Rabbit. I remember this book really well. It's basically a book about this little stuffed rabbit who is given to this boy, but at first the boy does not really care about the rabbit, it's just another one of his toys. And the rabbit, after talking to this rocking horse that the boy owns, because of course toys come to life at night, the rocking horse tells the rabbit, the rabbit expresses that after hearing about being real, the rabbit expresses that he wants to be real himself. And the rocking horse says the only way you will become real is if you are loved a whole lot by your owner. And at some point the boy gets really sick, and he's looking for his usual toy that he likes to sleep with for comfort and everything. And then the housekeeper or whatever gives the little boy the stuffed rabbit, the Velveteen Rabbit, and he starts sleeping with the rabbit every night. He's very comforted, and he starts to love the rabbit a whole lot. And then one day, of course, the rabbit slowly starts to fall apart and is all patchy. And of course, I'm sure you can guess what's going to happen. The rabbit gets so loved and used by the boy that after he loses the rabbit magically becomes real. And unfortunately, I think the boy had lost the rabbit, left the rabbit behind in the rain. But of course, the Velveteen Rabbit ends up becoming real, so it's no harm done for the rabbit. Of course, he misses the boy and everything. It's such a sweet, beautiful story. It's always stayed with me, and the whole idea of how for a toy to become real, a toy animal, but to become real, that you love them so much that they can become real. It's just the whole, and I love it. And I remember when my sister had my nephew a couple years ago, that's one of the things I wanted to get him. I wanted to get him that book, and I think he did. I don't know. I don't think he got it from me, but I think he got it from his other aunt, his dad's sister. I think they got him the book. But it's very hard. It was very hard because as much as I wanted to get a nice one with nice illustrations and stuff, he's only, like I said, he was born a couple years ago, so he's still, you still gotta be careful the books you get him, because he could easily rip the pages. But I just love, that's one of my, that book has stayed with me for quite a long time. Okay, 1 second, I heard my cell phone bleep, so I better answer it before I get in trouble. Unfortunately, hi, sorry about that. Unfortunately, I got in trouble this morning for not responding to a phone call I got from my mom because we were expecting some packages. So, I don't want to get, because I don't want to risk getting in trouble again for not answering my phone. I have to basically keep my phone with me all the time, which is really annoying, which I feel like is really annoying because, first I constantly get all these random phone calls, I guess from telemarketers or something. So I don't like to have to constantly hear my phone ring because of that. But if there's emergencies or my mom's expecting me to take care of something, um, so I love The Velveteen Rabbit. It's one of my favorite. It was one of my favorite childhood books, and it was actually my copy of it. Actually, I probably could have gotten it to show it to you because I think I might have it downstairs at least. I think it's downstairs with a note in it. I don't know. I would have to look for it. I mean, I hope he never got rid of it because it was a gift with a note inside of it. Okay, so okay, let's see. I have like 4 more on here, but I'm only gonna mention, since I just did number 4, book 4, in this top 5 Wednesday, I'm only gonna mention one more. I guess I'll go with The School for Good and Evil. Which is a little older than it's middle school, so, which actually I think the description of this week's topic said middle school or children's level literature. So this is The School for Good and Evil. It's a trilogy. I don't have it in my possession because it is at the library. It was something I got from the library, but I quite enjoyed the trilogy. And actually, I believe the author is writing another trilogy, like a spin-off trilogy, in the same world, the same characters, but it's like a new situation and everything, new problems, new conflicts. But this is a series about 2 girls that live in a village, and every couple of years or so, these 2 children are picked from their village to be taken through the woods into the castles, either they are put into the school for evil or the school for good. And you have these 2 girls, Agatha and Sophie. Sophie is the good, sweet, beautiful, blonde, pretty, has big dreams, wants to be rescued by a handsome prince or a white knight. She does all these good deeds because she believes she's meant for the school for good. And then you have Agatha, her best friend, she's kind of awkward, big eyes, she's kind of a tomboy, she isn't very sociable, she's a black cat, she's considered ugly, her mom's seen as a witch, she's very shy, but she's also a very good, a good person, like, she has a good heart, she has, while Agatha's a bit selfish and very vain, and unfortunately she believes that Agatha, and like everybody else, Agatha is meant to go to the school for evil if she ends up being taken. And Sophie believes that she's destined for great things beyond her village, so she is all excited to be taken to the school. And Agatha does not believe in this. She thinks it's silly, it's just children's stories, it's not real, it's not going to happen. But then, those that take the children away come for Sophie. And Agatha decides to tag along for the ride, to save Sophie, because she believes that Sophie is in danger if she gets taken to the school. But when they arrive, the twist is that it's reversed. Instead of Sophie going to the school for good, she goes to the school for evil, and Agatha goes to the school for good. And the whole book is basically about Sophie trying to prove that she is meant for the school for good, that she should be in there. And unfortunately that means she puts her friend Agatha's needs aside and doesn't consider what Agatha wants. And that's what that is that she wants to get out of the school. She does not want to be in the school for good and evil at all. She doesn't believe they're meant to be here. So the only reason that she is willing to cooperate with Sophie is because she figures that she can get Sophie to want to leave. But Sophie does not want to leave. She loves being here too much. She wants her fairy tale adventure, and Agatha just wants to go home where she's safe, where her and Sophie are safe and can be together and be good friends and everything. Because unfortunately, the school does not like the commingling of good and evil. Because as you know, evil hates good, and good fears evil, and there's the whole ultimate battle between the two. So the two of them are not allowed to be friends. And of course, there's the boy. There's the boy that Sophie is determined to get. She is determined to have this boy because she believes that not only is she meant for the school for good, but she believes that she deserves the Prince Charming, which is Teddarus, who is the son of King Arthur. Which you actually, in the next book in the trilogy, you learn about that, and you learn a little bit of his backstory. But you don't get to know him as much, because the first book mostly focuses on Agatha and Sophie. So basically the plot is them trying to trying not to fit into the schools that they think that the others think they're meant to be in. And Agatha wants to leave and Sophie wants to stay and wants to get into the whole school for good. I really enjoyed this. It's like a fairy tale, but it has more complexities, and it really looks at how you define good and evil. And it really turns it on its head. Like, Sophie is pretty. She's the beautiful princess. She's like a good little girl. It's clean and hygienic. She does all these charitable things, including being friends with Agatha, who is seen as ugly and awkward. While Agatha is like, she doesn't look like a princess. And she even has a black cat, and everybody assumes Agatha's the evil one. But the way Agatha is, she's so honorable and moral and such a good, compassionate person, and she really cares about Sophie. But Sophie doesn't. I think she cares enough and does consider Agatha a friend, but she puts her own needs, what she wants, and what she believes, over Agatha. So they really look at what makes a person good and what makes a person evil, but written in a way that's easy to understand for younger readers. It's not too it has complex themes, but it's not written in a complex way. It has really colorful characters, and it's a very fun little trilogy, and it's easy to read, easy to get through. The books get long. Between the three, the books get longer as the trilogy, goes through the 3 books. It's such a fun story, a fun little trilogy, and it's one of the exceptions because I'm not a huge fan of middle grade books. I've obviously read some of them more recently, like that one, and then there's another one that actually I think I'll bring up anyway as an honorable mention. But I think because it has complex, although I do believe, not to say that Percy Jackson, like books like Percy Jackson, doesn't have complex themes. It's just, I don't know, I just couldn't get into, I just don't have an urge to read that series. His, Rick Riordan's books, I read one of them, and I couldn't get into it. I think I did finish it, but I just, it's okay, nothing special. Nothing against those who love those books. If you love them, that's great, and if you think there's something special, then that's good. I just can't, I have no urge to get into that series. It is at the library, so maybe I'll pick it up, I don't know. But yes, I really loved The School for Good and Evil. It was such an enjoyable trilogy, and I do want to read his next little trilogy, but I might have to buy it because I don't think it's going to be at the library. Although the library has had some new releases out. It just takes a while for them to come to the library. So, but I really enjoyed this. I enjoyed both characters, how many shades of gray both Agatha and Sophie had, and the same with Tedarus as the trilogy progresses. And of course, because Tedarus is the son of Arthur, you also get to meet Merlin, who is such a fun, cool character. I think you don't meet him until the last book, till the final Ever After. I think that's when you meet Merlin. And I enjoyed him. He was so fun and quirky. He was so fun, eccentric, and so, but that one, and then, okay, so I also want to mention one more, even though it's only 5 books, I want to mention an honorable mention, and that is the Ascendance trilogy, by Jennifer Nielsen. And The School for Good and Evil is by okay, you know what, forget, I can't say his name, I'm sorry. It's very hard to pronounce his name, I don't know how you're supposed to say it. And that's the Ascendance trilogy. Ascendance trilogy I still prefer The School for Good and Evil over that one, but the Ascendance trilogy was another fun, exciting little series. The first book is basically about, the prince. Both princes are. One of them is dead. In this kingdom, the king and queen's first oldest son is dead, and then his brother is missing currently. So, one of the advisors to the king decides to go in search of a replacement for the young prince. So he finds these 3 orphans, and the main protagonist of the story is Sage, he's stubborn, very rebellious, very wild and stuff, but he looks a little similar to the prince, just like the other 2 boys, Tobias and Rodin. Oh, I don't remember their names. So this advisor basically trains these 3 boys to behave like the prince, to have the manners, to look like the prince, to act like the prince, to have all of his quirks. But Sage does not want to go along with this because he knows that if he becomes the prince, he is essentially in another kind of prison. He's even though this Lord guy is very abusive, and at one point, because Sage is so disrespectful, he puts him in the dungeon and basically has him tortured. But Sage looks at it as, if you're the prince, you will be king, so you have all these responsibilities. You have to protect the people, make right decisions for everybody. You have people watching you. You eventually have to marry someone. There's so much. He's shackled to the throne in a way. So Sage looks at it as, I don't want this, but the other boys do. Tobias and Rodin are all for it because you can understand Sage's reasoning, but you can also understand Tobias and Rodin wanting to be the prince because you're rich, you're very well off, and you're taken care of. You have servants, people doing things for you. You get to, tell people what to do. You run the country essentially, which can be both a good and a bad thing depending how you look at it. So, it's basically about them being trained and Tobias rebelling and everything, but then him realizing that he might be better off, that it might be, at the end of the day, he might actually, as much as this is another prison for him, he might at least be safer on the throne, So basically him and the other 2 boys do all these things to sabotage each other, and then I think, Rodin and Sage team up because they think Tobias is the weakling or whatever. I don't remember. I think that's how it was because I was surprised towards the twist of which one was the stronger of the 3 boys. But it's a very fun little story. Enjoyable little trilogy. I like the characters. Like I said, I prefer the School for Good and Evil, but it was a very enjoyable story. It's actually kind of reminding a little bit of Harry Potter, in the way that Sage kind of had to take on this burden and this responsibility, and he became kind of a heroic figure, which, although I guess you can say is the same with Percy Jackson series and the other books that Rick Riordan writes, because it's kind of, it's kind of about the same, essentially same thing. But this was a really, really good book. Okay, so those are the 6 now, but those are the 5. That was my top 5 children's classics. I really hope, I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you will consider those children's books. And I will leave the good link to Goodreads group down below. This is a series currently is being hosted by Sam from Thoughts on Tomes, and was originally created by Ginger Reads Laney. And like I said, I will leave the link to the Goodreads group for topics and such if you want to do this. Alright. See you guys.